tell me about kind of like how you get hooked up with Casey from the Golfers Journal, and then like how you do the Boiling Springs event as well.
Yeah. So again, it's a golf is a family, whether you've met these people or not. I mean, you played with two guys today that I don't know that you've ever met them before. Once. Yeah. And it was as pleasant around. I followed you for 7 holes or so, and it was as pleasant a time as I've had on a golf course in a long time. I mean, perfectly, nice guys, perfectly accommodating. And that's how this game is. You can walk out and play with 3 other guys that you've never met before and be great friends with them by the end of the round. That was kind of the same way with getting hooked up with Casey. They were coming through. I think this was the first year they had the van, and the first summer they had the van, and he was coming through, and somebody made a call out. Whether it was Casey or somebody local had a call out to play at Kicking Bird one day, and it was about as hot as a day as it is today, 100 degrees plus. And Casey came through with the van, and Spencer and I just showed up. Yeah. And we had a couple of friends, and we played 9 holes with Casey that night, and ended up going over to some guy's house and having hot dogs and hanging out till 1:00 in the morning on a Wednesday or something like that. And it was just, it was a great experience. And we kind of stayed in touch, and he contacted me, I don't know, maybe a year ago at this point, about, any hidden gems in the Midwest that we had our eyes on. We've been out to Boiling Springs a handful of times. Jeff Wagner does there are not words to express how good of a job Jeff Wagner does at Boiling Springs. With what he has. It's with as few resources as he has, and as inhospitable of a place Western Oklahoma can be, it is incredible to have a golf course of that magnitude and stature out there, and maintained as well as he does. I think he runs a 2-man crew, which, nobody does that.
It's unheard of.
Yeah.
To have that level of golf.
You don't run Top Golf with a 2-man crew. And so, we got Casey hooked on to Boiling Springs, and it's such a unique experience too. I mean, that's the one thing that's so cool about Oklahoma is there's such variety from, the Ouachita Mountains to the Wichita Mountains to the Panhandle to, the Little Sahara. I mean, there's just so much in Oklahoma, and that also manifests itself in golf courses in Oklahoma. And so Boiling Springs is really unique in that regard. We got them hooked up. They played an event at Prairie Dunes in Hutchinson, Kansas the week before, and they were really just kind of looking for something in between. They, when they take the van out, they're out. You can't just ship the van back to Southern California. Yeah. So they needed an event, and we got them hooked up with Jeff and made it work. So it was a really cool 2-day event. When we were talking, we rolled in on Friday and it was 95 degrees. And when we got up Saturday morning, it was 55 degrees. And that's, if anybody knows Western Oklahoma, that's what it is. So, and the wind was blowing about 40 the whole time out of different directions. So, because you guys had them here for the PGA as well, right? With them? Yeah, Casey stayed with us. He stayed with you? And his team, he stayed. We had this is a crazy story. So, they were doing some pre-PGA coverage. Casey had written some stories on it and stuff, and so they brought the van, and I live in a little neighborhood in Owasso, and so I had that van parked outside my house for 4 days, and it's like, it's a big matte black Sprinter van. I mean, you can't miss it, right? And it's got a T logo, golf tee on it, on the side of it, and so it's kind of it was brash sitting out in my driveway, but they came in for a few weeks, the 3 of them, Casey and Foster McCune, and then they had a photographer, Matt Hahn, out of Dallas, came up, and Matt, if you've not...
Who's incredible.
Oh my gosh, if you've not seen his... In fact, we're about to post a story, it'll probably be live by the time this goes live, on Boiling Springs, and we're going to use some photography that Matt took from that event, and he's unbelievable. And his summer, he went, I think he covered 2 majors, and he's just getting his photography business up and running, and he's so busy. But I don't know, I just can't speak highly enough about Matt and his photography, but they came in, and the first night they were in town, and mind you, I haven't seen Casey in 2 years.
Yeah.
I've never met Foster. I've never met Matt. They're staying in my house. I have about a month-old baby at this point. And we're hanging out, whatever. I want to show them the best of what Tulsa has to offer. And 11 o'clock that night, we had a bit of an emergency. We had to take Palmer, my daughter, to the emergency room that night. So they had already gone to bed, and I texted Casey and Foster, and I said, hey, you guys just watch the dog. We got to run to the emergency room real quick. And we were there till 3 or 4 in the morning, and it was wild. But they were, they're so cool, and we got to do some really cool things. I took them to Brahms for the first time. I love Brahms. We go to Brahms 3 times a week as a family. It's a tradition. But we did the Gathering Place. They did a drillers game, so they got to do some really cool things in Tulsa and kind of see, some of the more interesting aspects of Tulsa. I know they went to Black Wall Street as well and did that as well. So it was cool, and they had some really cool coverage of that.